to Genie Plus. I do want to say too, because I am thirsty and I don't want my viewers thinking I'm drinking alcohol. This is spring water. So it's not a Heineken, guys. I'm not drinking on the job. But I do want to talk about Genie Plus. We have not actually had a big collabo video on this, believe it or not. So I really want to.
And that actually would have fit in well. See, because if you really did have a Heineken, this would be the topic to have a drink with.
Right? Yeah. Drink them if you got them, right? Because now we're getting into some serious stuff. Now we're getting into Genie Plus. So, Dre, Genie Plus, overall thoughts, and then we're gonna just kind of dive into all this. What's going on?
Man, I hate this. Man, this is what I was worried about when it came to monetizing attractions, right? Because if you can monetize attractions and keep things back based like on experience and DLC and stuff like that, what's to stop you from doing stuff like this where you're affecting, the supply and demand ratio within the parks, given any attraction, and the demand placed on it. What if you could monetize that in that way? And that's the line they're going down here, and that's a very interesting one because we've not really seen this before. Previously it was all about, we talked about how the philosophy and the mindset of Disney has changed, right? We can't predict them and so forth. Previously, there were lines that they didn't cross, and the idea was that they wouldn't be viewed as nakedly greedy. And they use that terminology, right? But now we're seeing, okay, well, that's the line. Okay, we're just gonna cross it, and it's definitely got fans and longtime visitors to the parks quite in an uproar, and maybe deservedly so. We've never really seen this level of monetization from the Parks and Resorts division.
Yeah, I mean, and hey, look, let's look on the bright side. At least they're not going to start doing sports betting or anything like that.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Yeah, that's it, George. It looks like it's going to be happening at Walt Disney World first. So what do you think about it?
Well, I think for me, I probably, after reading more into it and getting in depth of the inner skeleton of this thing, it's something that I probably really wouldn't use because I'm fortunate enough that I am able to go to the parks, more often than a lot of this. I think was a platform created for those once in a lifetime families or people that can go but maybe can't go as often. And I think it's so they can utilize and get their money's worth and everything. So it's hey, because even Chapek said in the very beginning, he's more focused on the families coming into the parks that are buying the regular base ticket rather than annual pass holders. Me being an annual pass holder, I'm able to go more often. So it's whether or not I use Genie Plus or for the Lightning Lane, I may use it for a couple attractions, but it's something that, I personally wouldn't use for every single attraction. But I mean, I think it's more so that the Disney community itself is more of an uproar because they're so used to having something that's free, where someone just going blindsided into this for their first time at Disney, they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll have an extra feature. If we pay a little more, we get to jump the front of the line. They don't know about what Fast Pass used to be and, how we were able to, have it free literally at our fingertips. And I think that's, for us Disney fans, that's where it's where we could just play taps, the sound of taps playing when we think of Fast Pass. And it is actually a dying type of way of how we experience Disney in the parks. And I think it's very kind of ironic that I mean, I don't know if it goes with both coasts that, Dre and I was told by a very reliable source and a very strong source at that their cast members aren't even prepped or prepared for Disney Plus at the Disney.
Well, we got that confirmed.
Yeah, it was confirmed
by a guest relations cast member who said we haven't even been trained on it. It's whoa, that's, those are the people that are going to be dealing with a lot of these tech issues and so forth. I mean, City Hall and guest relations are going to be, there's going to be an enhanced emphasis placed on them, and they haven't even been trained. That's quite surprising.
Yeah, that is surprising. I think it was like about 2 weeks ago, actually. I was exiting Disneyland, and there was a couple guests actually talking to like one of the cast members at the exit turnstile, and she was asking the cast member. I guess she was trying to meet like a friend or family at 1901, right? And the cast member had no idea where that was. Didn't know what park it was. Couldn't tell you, like totally lost. And I chimed in and I said, "Oh, it's at DCA. It's at the Carthay Circle. It's on when you walk up. It's on the right hand side."
Yeah,
I knew exactly where it was. Now I'm a huge fanboy, whatever, but a cast member should definitely know that. And I'm not blaming the cast member. That's a training issue. That's a huge training issue.
Something as big as Genie Plus, you would think they would have already been trained, before that after they had a set date for this to be ready. Now, as far as with Walt Disney World, they said it would be up and running by the 50th, which is October 1st. Now, October 1st is right around the corner.
A couple days away from that.
But yeah. No one, we haven't heard boo. It's like, what's going on? So it makes me wonder that after we actually got that clarification from that cast member, could that be for both coasts? Because they're going to run into situations. These cast members have to be trained to handle large amount of volume of guests going in there. Because I actually got to experience it with Rise of the Resistance. The second I set foot on the vehicle, it moved 2 inches, ride shut down. Ride was completely down.
And that's going to be an issue. And I wonder how they're going to handle that. Because when
you know what, OG? And the funny thing is, the second everything shut down, out of every single person that was in that ride vehicle, you know what the first thing that they mentioned was? How is this going to work with Genie Plus? Every single person mentioned it to the cast members. They couldn't say nothing because they didn't know what to say. They're not even trained.
Right, because they've already said that there's going to be this feature in Genie Plus that you'll be able to pay for guaranteed access to rides like Rise of the Resistance. So
individual attraction selections.
Right, individual attraction selections. So you pay for this, and then it shuts down. What do? Do they refund your card? Do they just hold it until you get off the ride? And then
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they really should do a pending process, because if they charge somebody, and for how many attractions that you purchase, that pending, to reverse that takes 7 to 10 business days per transaction.
Good, yeah.
That's gonna be a real nightmare.
That's gonna be a real nightmare.
Man.
They got to figure something out with that. What they should do is actually have some sort of like monthly payment thing that you get charged for, like on a monthly basis for that feature. So it's not per time. It's more like you get it for your monthly,
I would think Disney would have some sort of way of saying, hey, you know what, we have to consider, not to be negative, but we have to consider all these possibilities. I'm for sure Disney had taken this conversation. I would hope so.
Have they though? That's that's the thing. We seem to be putting trust in Disney on certain things, and maybe that trust is not well warranted, at least right now. And we would hope, right?
That may be the fine print. You purchase it at your own peril. Ride may go down, and that's tough luck. That could be the fine print.
Yeah, yes, you can put anything you want in terms and conditions, but that doesn't stop people from being pissed off,
Oh yeah,
and I think, the wheels are gonna fall off this thing. I'm just like there's so many scenarios by which, failure is an option, and what happens to the frontline cast members that have to deal with that? What happens to these guests that have to deal with that? It was interesting to go back to the training issue and so forth. When Disney Genie Plus and all that were announced, I broke it down with a couple of guest relations cast members, And we were all trying to like figure out how this system worked because it was inconceivable at that time. As you know, information has come out and so forth. It's provided some insight, but not much. And those guest relations cast members were really like they were kind of stressing out about it because this was going to be a huge change, and they still haven't gotten training on that. And like you said, OG, they haven't been training cast members in the parks working right now for basic operations that have been in the parks for years, like 1901, for example. And now you want to place this brand new system on this when we're still figuring out Magic, when we're still figuring out all these other systems that they've been placing on the the resorts since they've opened. I mean, this is a lot of changes, and it's a lot of changes all at once.
It is, and I would bet dollars to donuts that the reason why we were all shocked that the annual pass program was as similar as the old system, we really were shocked how similar it really was. There really wasn't that much difference. Yeah. And I bet you, Dre, that you're onto something in terms of like, there's a shock to the system. Yeah. And Disney looked at it and probably thought, okay, look, we're going to be introducing this new thing, Genie Plus, which is going to be very different. It's going to be a lot of new, gadgets and gizmos aplenty, right?
Yeah.
And we don't want to.
But after it's done, a lot of people are going to be saying this is a bunch of who's its and what's its.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe they figured, hey, you know what? We're gonna simplify Magic Key to kind of let Genie Plus do its thing. Because if we did both, if we had huge changes to the annual pass program and we're introducing Genie Plus, it's just too much of a shock to the system.
That could have been it. That really could have been it, because I remember at the time we were very shocked about how streamlined this new annual pass system or key holder system actually was, and obviously they adopted that at Walt Disney World. It's interesting. We've seen now Rise open at Disney's Hollywood Studios without a boarding group,
right?
And we've seen the patterns that have taken place. And, somebody, our dear friend, Wildest Ride, actually, called it out and said, hey, I think Vash was on to something when it came to supply and demand and this kind of artificial scarcity, creating this enhanced demand, right? As soon as Rise became open to the public, and free of the boarding groups, we saw those wait times really plummet. It took a while. Obviously, it debuted, but as the days have progressed, we've seen less emphasis placed on that attraction, and it tells you, like, wow, these systems that they're implementing, they really do have a big effect on guests' perception, on guests' patterns, and so forth. And I think that's what they really wanted to figure out with Rise before they inevitably monetize it.